Chosen One, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here for a reason. You've been wondering why everything has felt so intense lately, why people have changed, doors have closed, and situations have tested you to your core. You thought it was chaos, but it was divine examination. Heaven has been testing your faith, your patience, your obedience, and your trust. And here's the truth: you didn't even realize you passed. This season wasn't about punishment, it was about proof. God needed to see if you were ready for what He's about to release into your life. You've been in spiritual training disguised as trials, and without even knowing it, you've completed your final exam. Now heaven is preparing to elevate, reward, and reveal you. Before we go deeper, if this message is stirring something in your spirit, type "I passed" in the comments right now. That declaration isn't for me, it's for heaven. It's your way of saying, I'm ready for my next assignment. I understand the test. I trust the process. Now, let's unfold this message in 7 chapters, each one revealing a layer of what you just went through and what's coming next. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this message isn't just content, it's a divine confirmation for the chosen ones, and a heartfelt thank you to everyone who's been supporting through Super Thanks. May God bless you abundantly. Your support, your prayers, and your consistency never go unnoticed. To everyone who continues to listen, watch, and align with these messages, you are deeply appreciated. If your spirit feels this frequency, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random. It's a sacred signal to heaven and the universe that you're ready. Ready to receive the divine promotion, the divine favor, and the divine revelation that's already been written into your story. Not everyone will make it to the end of this message, only those who are truly chosen. Those who stay will gain clarity, prophetic insight, and spiritual confirmation about the season they've just come through. This isn't something you hear once and forget. This is a living word, a spiritual blueprint revealing itself layer by layer. Watch it again whenever your spirit feels led, because each time a new dimension of divine truth will rise within you. This is your confirmation. You didn't even know it, but you just passed heaven's final exam. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Hidden. Test behind your trials, chosen one. God doesn't announce His final exams. He hides them in the ordinary moments of life. You weren't told this was a test because heaven wanted to see your true heart, your natural response when everything fell apart, when confusion clouded your path, and when silence replaced certainty. The people who betrayed you, the opportunities that vanished, the doors that slammed shut. Those weren't random events. They were divinely placed checkpoints meant to reveal who you truly are beneath the pressure. Every delay was a question. Would you still trust me when the promise feels far away? Every heartbreak whispered, would you still love when love doesn't return the same way? Every silent night asked, would you still believe when nothing seemed to move? These were not punishments. They were purpose-filled moments of divine observation. God wasn't testing to break you. He was testing to promote you. You see, heaven doesn't reward words, it rewards endurance. It's easy to have faith when everything flows, but it's divine to have faith when everything fails. You were being watched. In those hidden seasons, not by the world, but by heaven itself. The angels recorded your perseverance. They saw you pray when you could have complained, forgive when you could have fought back, and give when you barely had enough. Every time you chose peace over pettiness, every time you chose faith over fear, another page of your spiritual report was stamped approved. Chosen one. This is what passing looks like. It's not perfection, it's persistence. You didn't need to have all the answers. You just needed to keep walking. God was never testing your comfort. He was testing your character. And through every storm you revealed the truth. You are trustworthy with destiny. Heaven saw how you handled betrayal without revenge. It saw how you carried disappointment with grace. You may not have realized it, but those moments were your final exams, the unseen assessments that determine promotion in the spiritual realm. Every no you received was preparing you for a bigger yes. Every delay was proof that you were being positioned for divine timing, not human validation. Now that you've passed, everything begins to shift. What once broke you will now build you. The same situations that drained you will become the soil where new blessings grow. You have proven that you can carry purpose without pride and handle pain without losing your praise. So take a deep breath, chosen one. The test is over. The lessons have been learned. The results are in, and heaven has declared you victorious. You didn't just survive the trial, you graduated from it. God can now trust you with the next level because your endurance has spoken louder than your emotions. The hidden test was never about what you lost. It was about what you became. And what you became is stronger, wiser, purer, and ready for everything heaven has been holding back until now. Chapter 2. The silence that tested your faith, chosen one. You thought God had turned his face away, but in truth, he was watching you closer than ever. The silence wasn't rejection. It was refinement. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. When heaven went quiet, you entered one of the most sacred classrooms of all, a classroom of faith without proof. You cried out and heard nothing back. You prayed, fasted, waited, and wondered, did God forget me? But what you didn't realize was that every unanswered prayer was an invitation to deeper trust. God was never ignoring you. He was measuring the strength of your belief when no signs appeared, when no doors opened, when no voices encouraged you. The silence was not the end. It was the middle of your transformation. Heaven wanted to see if your faith could stand when your emotions couldn't feel his presence. Would you still pray when your heart was tired? Would you still worship when your world felt empty? Would you still obey when nothing seemed to change? Those were the invisible questions that decided your promotion. And even in your weariness, you answered correctly, with your endurance, with your faithfulness, with your quiet yes. When prayers seemed unanswered, you didn't curse God. You drew closer. When the delays multiplied, you didn't break, you adapted. You started walking by faith and not by sight, learning that silence doesn't mean absence and delay doesn't mean denial. The silence taught you to listen, not with your ears, but with your spirit. You began to feel God in stillness, to sense his guidance in peace, and to trust that every quiet season was still progress in disguise. Many people start strong when God speaks, but faint when God observes. Yet you didn't. You kept walking when heaven went quiet. You worshipped through confusion. You believed through disappointment. You waited with no timeline, trusting that the one who promised would fulfill it in perfect timing. That kind of faith is rare. It's the kind heaven celebrates. The silence stripped you of dependence on noise, validation, and constant reassurance. It forced you to find your own spiritual rhythm, to know God beyond what he gives, and love him simply for who he is. That's why your relationship with him deepened. You stopped chasing signs and started trusting his spirit. You stopped searching for proof and started walking in peace. You stopped needing people to agree and started listening to divine confirmation. And through that stillness, something powerful happened. You matured. Your discernment sharpened. Your roots grew deeper. You learned that real strength isn't proven in victory. It's proven in waiting. You discovered that silence is not a void. It's a voice. It speaks direction, correction, and elevation to those who can handle it. Chosen one, heaven saw your patience. You didn't fail, you passed. You endured the quiet season that breaks most people. And because you stayed faithful when you felt forgotten, heaven is now preparing to break the silence. The teacher is about to speak again, not to test you this time, but to promote you. The quiet chapter is closing, and the sound of divine instruction is about to return. Get ready. The same God who was silent in your waiting is about to speak loudly in your winning. The silence was never the end. It was the setup for your next command from heaven. Chapter 3. The rejection that refined. You chosen one, the rejection you faced was never meant to break you. It was meant to build you. What felt like abandonment was actually divine redirection. You kept trying to resurrect connections that God Himself had ended. And when you finally let go, peace began to flood in like light through a broken window. You learned to stop begging for belonging. You stopped chasing validation from those who couldn't see your value. You began to realize that rejection is sometimes God's protection disguised in pain. It wasn't that you weren't chosen, it was that you were too chosen for the space you were in. Heaven couldn't allow you to settle in places that would shrink your calling. Chosen one, you didn't know it then, but rejection was heaven's way of carving out your individuality. It forced you to grow in solitude, to strengthen your voice and to find your identity outside of people's approval. You became unshakable because you had to. You found out that peace is louder than applause, and isolation can sometimes be the most powerful invitation into intimacy with God. Every time someone walked away, you were being positioned closer to divine alignment. Every time a door closed, a higher one was being built. You may have felt empty, but in truth you were being cleared. God was making room for real connections, divine partnerships, and opportunities that would honor your authenticity, not your appearance. The rejection wasn't random. It was a recalibration. You passed one of heaven's hardest exams, detachment. You proved that you could choose peace over people, purpose over popularity, and calling over comfort. You stopped fighting for seats at tables that were never built for you. You stopped shrinking your light to be accepted by those still walking in shadows. That wasn't weakness, that was wisdom. Chosen one, rejection purified your motives. It separated you from the counterfeit so that heaven could introduce you to the real. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. Every rejection stripped away another layer of dependency, forcing you to rely fully on divine guidance. You began to see that not everyone who clapped was for you, and not every connection was covenant. What you once called rejection was actually redirection to refinement. You became wiser, sharper, and more discerning. Your spirit learned the language of no, and discovered that sometimes no simply means not here, not yet. And now, heaven is rewriting your story. The same people who doubted you will soon witness your elevation. Chapter 4. The Temptation. Test chosen one, every soul destined for greatness must face the test of temptation. It's the unseen exam that measures not your ability, but your integrity. Before heaven promotes you, it exposes you to power, pride, and shortcuts not to destroy you, but to reveal who you truly are when no one is watching. You've been offered easier routes, glittering distractions, and opportunities that looked good but weren't God. Yet through it all, you stood firm. Temptation doesn't always come wearing darkness. Sometimes it dresses like destiny. It appears as an opportunity, a relationship, or an offer that feels almost right, but carries the wrong spirit. Heaven watched as you faced those choices, the moments when no one was clapping, when you could have bent the truth to get ahead, when you could have compromised your peace just to belong. You didn't. You chose patience over pressure. You chose purity over popularity. That's what separates the called from the chosen. The enemy studied your desires, your weaknesses, and your wounds. He tried to sell you the counterfeit version of what God already promised you. He tempted you with recognition before revelation, attention before alignment, and comfort before calling. But you didn't bite. You understood that anything gained outside divine timing will eventually cost your peace. You refused to let impatience make you forfeit what heaven was still preparing. There were times you almost gave in, times when you thought, maybe I should just take what's here instead of waiting for what's promised. But something deep inside, your divine discipline, stopped you. That's the power of being chosen. Even when your flesh wanted to rush, your spirit whispered, wait. Every time you resisted temptation, you were proving that your faith was stronger than your frustration. Chosen one. Heaven saw every silent battle you fought, the offers you declined, the people you walked away from, the doors you closed even when they looked promising. Those weren't losses, they were proofs of loyalty. You passed the test most fail, the test of remaining faithful when fame, wealth, or desire could have made you fall. Understand this. Before God gives power, He tests purity. Before He releases influence, He checks integrity. Power in unhealed hands becomes manipulation, but power in refined hands becomes ministry. And your hands, scarred, steady, and sanctified, have proven ready to hold what's holy. You stayed humble when others would have grown arrogant. You stayed hidden when others chased the spotlight. You worked in silence when applause could have distracted you. You passed the test because you understood that elevation without character is destruction in disguise, and now heaven can trust you. This next level will come with visibility, but it won't corrupt you. It will come with access, but you won't abuse it. You've been trained to lead with humility and love, not ego. You'll use your influence to heal, not harm, to uplift, not control. That's why heaven had to wait, because what's coming requires purity of heart. Chosen one, you didn't just resist temptation, you mastered yourself. You learned that discipline is not denial, it's direction. You learned that what's meant for you won't require manipulation. And you realized that waiting for divine timing is never wasted time. It's protection from premature blessings. Now heaven is preparing to reward your restraint. The same offers that once tempted you will return, but this time, you'll have authority over them. Chapter 5. The Lesson of Stillness. Chosen one. One of the hardest exams heaven gives is the lesson of stillness. It's not about inactivity. It's about trust. It's the divine art of resting while the storm still rages, believing that silence doesn't mean absence, and understanding that movement in the spiritual realm often looks like waiting in the physical. You've been conditioned to believe that constant motion equals progress, but heaven works differently. In God's classroom, stillness is not weakness, it's wisdom. Stillness is where your soul learns to breathe again, where clarity replaces confusion, and where strength is built in silence. In your past season, you wanted to move and fix things. You wanted clarity, closure, and control. But every time you tried, God whispered, "Be still." And that command wasn't punishment, it was protection. Stillness was heaven's way of teaching you the difference between reaction and response. It was a holy pause, a divine moment designed to prepare your next move without losing your peace. You didn't realize it then, but that silence was divine strategy. Heaven wanted to see if you could stop forcing outcomes and start flowing in faith. When you stopped chasing validation, you began to see how much energy you'd been wasting, trying to control what was never yours to manage. Stillness taught you that blessings don't come by force, they come by flow. What's truly yours doesn't require pressure. It responds to peace. You passed when you surrendered control and said, "God, have your way." You passed when you learned that not moving doesn't mean you're stuck, it means you're stable. Heaven saw your patience when everything in you screamed for progress. You grew to understand that doing nothing in faith is still doing something powerful, because surrender invites heaven to move. You discovered that divine rest is not the absence of action, but the presence of trust. Stillness is the space where heaven speaks the loudest. It's where divine downloads happen and new direction is born. You can't hear heaven's whisper while you're running in panic. That's why God slowed you down, not to punish you but to prepare you. Because when you finally stop striving, you become sensitive enough to hear the next divine instruction clearly. In stillness, your discernment sharpened. You realize not every battle deserves your energy, and not every opportunity is from God. You learned that peace is the proof of presence. Rest became your new form of warfare, and silence your greatest weapon. You've entered the divine pause between warfare and reward, between breaking and breakthrough. It's the moment when the winds calm, the clouds clear, and heaven whispers, "Now watch what I do next." Heaven is rearranging your atmosphere. Old cycles that kept you trapped are being closed permanently. The people, habits, and environments that once matched your old frequency can no longer find you. You've outgrown their vibration. New doors are opening that don't require you to knock, because your name has already been spoken in rooms you've never entered. People you haven't met yet are being prepared to recognize your light. Opportunities are being written in your name, sealed with divine timing. You don't have to chase what's yours, it's being magnetically drawn to you. The shift is already in motion. You can feel it in your spirit, even if you can't see it in the natural. Your discernment is sharper, your peace deeper, your faith stronger. The tests that once terrified you now remind you of how far you've come. You're not being delayed anymore. You're being delivered from what once delayed you. God is breaking old patterns and replacing them with divine precision. The storm didn't end you, it refined you. The energy around you is changing because heaven has stamped your promotion. You've passed the unseen exams. You remained faithful when everything in you wanted to quit. You prayed when no one knew you were breaking. That consistency and silence became the currency for your elevation. Now the winds that once opposed you will push you forward. The same places that rejected you will request your presence. The same people who ignored you will seek your wisdom. The same pain that broke you will build your platform. ChosenOne. This is the divine exchange, the season where loss becomes leverage, where wounds become wisdom, and where the storm you survived becomes your story of victory. You are entering the chapter where everything starts making sense. Heaven didn't let you drown because you were destined to walk on what others sank in. You became stronger in the silence, wiser in the waiting, and unstoppable in the stillness. This is the calm before divine release, the sacred hush before the manifestation. The angels are positioning, the heavens are clearing, and the earth is adjusting to receive your next level. Stay grounded, stay expectant, stay ready, because the shift after the storm is not coming. It's already here. You're not waiting for breakthrough anymore. You are the breakthrough. Chapter 7, Your Heavenly Promotion. ChosenOne. This is your divine confirmation. You passed heaven's final exam. Every tear, every delay, every silent prayer was part of the testing process. The trials didn't defeat you. They revealed your true strength. The storm didn't destroy you. It refined your spirit. The pain didn't break you. It birthed your purpose. You have graduated from survival to supernatural success. Heaven has reviewed your journey and found you faithful. Your endurance spoke louder than any words. The same tests that made you question everything have now become your testimony. Heaven has approved your next chapter, and the scrolls of your destiny are turning in your favor. Expect divine order to unfold. Expect favor to find you. Expect open doors and divine connections that honor your calling. This promotion is not by luck, but by loyalty. You stayed true when it would have been easier to quit. You prayed when others mocked you. You trusted when others turned away. Heaven took note of every silent victory and every unseen sacrifice. Those were your final exam answers, and heaven marked them all correct. Now your promotion begins. The shift will start spiritually, then manifest physically. God is preparing to relocate you to new environments, higher platforms, and divine relationships. You are stepping into rooms you once only dreamed of, not because you chased them, but because heaven assigned them. You're not being elevated by people's approval, but by divine decision. From here on, walk differently. You carry a new frequency that commands respect without demanding it. Speak with authority, move with purpose, and carry peace as your signature. You are no longer being tested. You are being trusted,